Benoit, thank you very much for joining us today. How are things in Montreal?
Things are pretty good in Montreal. We're making the playoffs, so things are pretty good.
Things are on the up and up. That's good.
Up and up, absolutely, for so many years. So yeah, things are good in Montreal, but I'm leaving this weekend for Morocco, so I'll probably miss the first games.
Yeah, that's good. So when I think of mining, there's many different elements that I think about when it comes to a successful mine, and they include jurisdiction. I look at the grades and the scale, and I also look at the cost of production. And when I think about gold mining, I think about Canada and I think about the US. And when I think about silver mining, I think about Mexico and Peru. I do not think about Morocco. So I want to start right here and ask you about the jurisdiction and what it's like to mine there. Tell us about the mining industry and what the government is like to work with.
Well, thank you for this question because it's a very, very good question. And I agree with you. In this world right now, number one criteria for mining and for investment in mining is jurisdiction. It's number one. Management, of course, but jurisdiction is can be very, very tricky. We saw it this week in Mali again, and we're seeing it everywhere. I mean, jurisdiction is tricky. Morocco is a major mining center of the world, except it's unknown to most of us, not us, because now we're there, because it's the largest phosphate reserves of the planet. It's the largest phosphate company of the world, and it's been kept like this. Honest, it was a strategic decision not to develop the other metals except by a company called Managem, which is owned by the Sovereign Wealth Fund. And Managem was developing all the other assets, and a company called OCP, which is the largest company in Morocco. I always say OCP is to Morocco what Hydro-Quebec is to Quebec. It's that kind of power and strength and positioning. So they've kept this as a secret for 100 years. And only in 2010 have they strategically decided to open up and bring new people in. And that's when Aya was created. And the former management team was buying assets from the state, putting those permits into Aya, developing them slowly. And in 2020, when the new management team came in, we had this fantastic portfolio of assets that had been put together by the previous team. But this is today, and I talk about it worldwide. I think in the mining world, it's has to be number one as far as jurisdiction, stability, political stability. The government is pro mining. There's no NGOs that are against mining. You don't have local tribes and communities that can stop you. That doesn't exist in Morocco. You sure have to have corporate social responsibility and all of the ESG program. That of course is there, but it's a pro mining jurisdiction, and they're the fastest in the world for permitting. So permitting in Morocco you count that in weeks or months, and around the world you count that in years, and in some places it's 10 years and more. So best place to for permitting, great place with government support of mining, no NGOs against mining that are making your life impossible, and people available to work. The unemployment rate in Morocco globally is about 13%. In the regions where we operate, it's around 30%. So you have employees. You get resumes every day. There's not a day that we're not functioning because we don't have enough truck drivers. That's not like Quebec. That doesn't exist. I mean, it's so I've built mine, as you know, all over West Africa. We did things in China, in Canada. To me, Morocco is number one jurisdiction in the world for mining because of permitting, because of the government, the employees, stability. We have power to site, green power, wind and solar to site from the grid at 7 cents per kilowatt hour. So it competes with Quebec on hydro energy. There it's wind and solar. So again, I'm completely sold to Morocco. This week at site, or I should say last week, we had 8 people that visited the mine, the Zgounder mine. We had 4 analysts and 4 fund managers, and they're always coming out saying, you know what? One of the best mine tour ever. country is unbelievable. And I had one of the fund manager, and she said, "I love this country. I just love this country now." Like it is very different, and I would recommend you and all your viewers to have to go to Morocco, had visit the country. It's the fastest growing country probably in the world right now, GDP wise. And it's no, it's look, it's a nice place to be, and aerospace is there, automobile, tourism, it's and mining. So we're very pleased to be the largest non-government owned entity in the mining space.
So let's spend a little more time talking about your assets. And your primary one, as you mentioned, is the Zigandar silver mine. Forgive my pronunciation, but
You're good. You're good. You're good.
the full year production in 2024 was 1.6 million ounces of silver, and it's going to grow to 5 million or over 5 million ounces in 2025. And that's because of a lot of work you and your team did with mine expansion. Tell us about this mine expansion and what exactly you did.
So when we took over in 2020 and when we arrived, what the previous team had done was to build a small Chinese-built plant, which was very fragile and broke down quite a lot. You know, at the time, plant availability was like 42%, which we wanted to be 95%. So it was very, very low. And we came in and we fixed that. And the capacity of that little plant was 1,600 ounces of production per year. It was like 700 ton a day of ore being treated. So that was fine. But after 2.5 years of drilling, because they did very little drilling historically, we had 70 million ounces of reserves, and we were producing 1.6 million ounces a year. So that was like a 50-year mine life or 40-year mine life. Made no sense. So we decided to build a brand new state-of-the-art plant. So we did the feasibility for that. We did all the detail engineering, and we built it in 2020, 2023, 2024. It was about an 18-month build, and it concluded in December. So we did the official commissioning and completed the commissioning as expected in December of 2024. The construction lasted a bit longer, so there was a bit of kind of negative news that we were late. We were late in receiving the plant, but we did the commissioning in 3 weeks instead of 3 months. So because it was so well, it's well built, and our team did a fantastic job. So by December 30th, it was commissioned, and now we are what's called ramp up. So we had 3 good months, in January, February, and March. And of course, you're tweaking and fixing and changing the recipe. And but now, so Q1 came out last week. We had 1,070,000 ounces of production, which was better than our budget. So we did better than what we had anticipated. And now we are in the ramp up. So Q1 is 1 million, Q2 will be higher, 3 higher, and Q4 higher. We expect to exit the year on a 500,000 ounces of production per month, which is 1.5 million per quarter, which would take us to the 6 million ounces a year of production on a going forward basis. So this year, 2025, we'll be doing around 5 million ounces of silver, pure silver. I wanted to show you this. This is the number one from that new mine. They gave it to me when I was there. They say, okay, you can have that. So see number one here, 001. And they gave this to me as a gift, of course, to be paid, but as a gift. And the employees actually did that, not Aya, but the employees paid it, bought it, and gave it to me as a thank you note. So so this is number one that we have here, and now we're producing approximately 15,000 ounces per day. And it's going, it's a ramp up. So I won't say it's going extremely well, because in a ramp up, you got, pumps that break, you got this that you have to change. Then you realize there's a bit of under design on this capacity at this plant, at this pump, but this is normal stuff. It's all being done. It's going quite well. We're going to have a very, very nice 2025.
And that's a good point. I want to talk about valuation, but before we do that, a couple of other questions. You You mentioned that you're still in the ramp up mode. When do you think that's going to end? When will you be at full plate capacity?
So towards the last month of Q3 or all of Q4, that's kind of the plan. But we're close. We're close. I mean, as I mentioned, the run rate should be about 500,000 ounces of production per month, and we won't be there in Q2, but we're climbing up. We did about 330 average in Q1. We should do probably 400 average in Q2, and climbing up to the 500,000 ounces per month for Q4. So that's the goal. That's what we have in mind, and we're working towards this. And now it's adjustment. Hey, now the plant's running correctly. Now we need to bring the recoveries to where they should be, which is 88, 89%. Right now they're more 82, 84, and this is just chemical. It's not that the plant's not working. It's we need to have the right chemical adjustment. It's really now like a two-star Michelin restaurant. We need to make sure that the carrots, the food, the meat is all coming perfectly at the same time, and we're working on that as we speak.
I like that analogy. But to your point, as you continue to move forward and the mine continues to ramp up and your recoveries improve, you're going to continue to de-risk this stock and there's going to be improvements in the stock price. So to your point, it's
Mhm.
probably a good entry level.
I really believe it is. I absolutely believe it is a very, very good entry level. And again, I'm gonna make sure people know about this. And we're gonna be on the road a lot in May, June. And yes, and then we're going to the Rick Rule conference in Boca Raton in July. We'll be there. We're like this is my objective, my KPI. I got to make sure that we go back to these all-time highs.
So another big part of your job, as you mentioned, is also exploration. You got to find another source. And why don't you tell us about that? How many meters do you have planned for 2025? How many rigs and where the targets are exactly?
So the exploration program is divided between the first project, Zgounder, and our second project, Boumadine. So I'll address those at the same time. So at Zgounder, we have what we call Zgounder Regional. And there we have 4 or 5 rigs turning. And based on the targets, we're going to be drilling about 30 to 40,000 meters there, which we kind of do on a yearly basis. That we have a plan. We're using a lot of AI right now on interpretation of the data because we've done the satellite imagery, we've done the geophysics. We're doing more geophysics. We're even doing seismic now. I had never seen this, but now there's new seismic applied to geology to understand more at depth the structure. So we're doing seismic as well at Zgounder. We're taking all of that data. We have an amazing geological team there, amazing. And they are reviewing all this using AI and then selecting drill targets to find another structure like what we have. So that's like the small exploration program. The big exploration program is at Boumadine. Boumadine is a tier 1 asset. It's 5, 6 hours away from Zgounder. So there's no crossover. It's a standalone. Zgounder is pure silver. Boumadine is polymetallic, so it's gold, silver, lead, and zinc. Today, Boumadine is at 452 million ounces of silver equivalent, or 6 million ounces of gold equivalent. The gold is at 5 grams per ton on 6 million ounces, and the silver is about 450. So when you compare that to Zgounder, it's already 4 times bigger. And Boumadine is, we have a very large piece of land. It's 700 square kilometers. All that, most of it, I should say, most of it, mining permits done already at Boumadine. Of course, Zgounder fully permitted because it's in production, but the other one is also permitted. And there we're going to be drilling 140,000 meters this year. We drilled 110 last year. We've increased the resource by about 100 million ounces of silver last year. We're hoping to do the similar this year, but it is, I believe, and most people say the same, in the mining world, one of the top tier one discovery of the last few years, and it's continuing to grow. So the 450 million ounces of silver is on 5.2 kilometer of strike. That strike keeps going, but we have just discovered another system at the bottom, few kilometers south, where we have 21 kilometer of strike of this similar, not exactly similar, mineralized zone. So the structures that are north south are gold, silver, lead, and zinc. And the structure that are east west, it's another geological event. Those are more copper and gold. And sorry, copper and silver. So it is a very large piece of land, and we're going to be drilling. So there we have between 11 and 13 drills turning. We have a team of 250 people there on site in exploration. We drill 24/7. We occupy all the lab capacity in the country. That's one of the reasons sometimes the results don't come out as quickly as we would like to, because we just, all the labs are working for us. And that program will continue. I expect that kind of drilling to continue for the next 2-3 years, especially if the south comes out to be well mineralized. Then we'll have to put, I don't know, 20-30 rigs and drill the south, continue to drill the north-south structure, and get going on a PEA. So it's a world-class tier one discovery. Internally, our target is to bring this to 1 billion ounces of silver or 10 million ounces of gold minimum on the main structure, and then copper, silver on the east-west structure. So there, we have a big exploration team, as I said, and we look, we just keep going. We just keep drilling. It's people are who go to site come back and say, okay, it's one of the best system I've ever seen. There's nobody around, no one. We have power to site. The government brought us the power line, so we're hooked onto the grid. We have the water from the mountains, and we have employees that come from villages that are further away, but they come to site. So this is who we are. We have this fantastic little ATM machine that produces cash flow. This year, 75 million. Next year, probably more. And then you have this big tier one asset that's being developed. We'll do a first phase PEA for next year, but depending on the discovery and if it keeps getting bigger, the flow sheet may be adjusted for tonnage and for size. But that's a very good problem to have, knowing that Boumadine is already a mining permit. So we could start building it like tomorrow. And that's very rare. So the whole thing is a mining permit. It's already accepted by the government. We are doing all the chapters of the PEA, where is going to be the tailings dam, the water reservoirs, the camp, and all that. So we're doing all of this. It will be 50% open pit, 50% underground to feed the plant. And now what we need to do is decide how big the plant will be. 10,000, 20,000 ton a day. That will be our final decision based on the tonnage that we will have in the resource and in the reserves.
With so many drilling rigs on the go there, I guess the drilling contractors are pretty happy with you guys.
They are. They are. We're of course, taking most of the capacity in country. We also brought another one from outside the country, but on a smaller contract. And yeah, but that's why the government want to push mining, because you create the industry. The driller, when we arrived, probably had, I'm gonna give you a number, I'm not sure, he had like 6 rigs, and now he's got 20 rigs. And the labs were doing 20,000 essays a day, and now they have to do 60,000. Or so it's very, very different, because don't forget, you also have the drilling for production, and we drill 3-meter spacing for production. All that needs to go to the lab as well. So you got the drilling from production, the drilling from exploration, and all the geos that are working, the geophysics that we bring into country from different parts of the world, AI, satellites, spectral imaging. They in Morocco, they understand that you can create a big industry. When I went into 1995 to Burkina Faso, there was like three of us, and we discovered the Houndé Belt. Well, a couple of years later, there were 400 companies doing exploration. Well, do you imagine the amount of money that that brought into Burkina Faso? We were 25% of the revenue of the state. And in Morocco, we're not the same because Morocco is such a bigger economy, but they understand that mining can be a very nice source of income, foreign investment, and mainly job creation. And that's exactly what we're doing. And we're working hand in hand with them and with the government in doing all of that.
I want to move on now and talk about valuation. You touched on this earlier, but I think you would characterize 2024 as a transformational year for Aya Gold and Silver, and especially with the mine expansion. There was a few issues, as there always is, but production, once again, as a reminder to our viewers, production is going from 1.6 million ounces up to 5 million ounces this year. But even though you have this incredible growth, the stock is still trading at a big discount to its comps. Why do you think that is, and what are you and your team going to do in the coming months to close that valuation gap?
Very good point, and you're absolutely right. But as I mentioned at the beginning, because for 4 years we did nothing wrong. We did everything we touched was perfect. The drill results were spectacular. Boumadine came with the first resource update at Boumadine was 350 million ounces of silver in equivalent in the first resource update. Our cost of discovery is 10 cents an ounce. So the stock did very, very well. People really liked Morocco. There was, of course, at the same time, there was a lot of people looking at South America with Panama going, going different, being different. Ecuador, Guatemala. I mean, so all these countries were complicated, and Mexico were giving wrong signals on open pit mining, and so a lot of shareholders checked out of South America and Mexico and wanted to come into Morocco as a silver kingdom because it is a silver kingdom. So we had a very good run on the stock price. It ran up to $19, and then came two hiccup, which if you know the industry, you know it. These are normal. Like the contractor said, "I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I'll deliver the plant 8 weeks late, but we will make it up on commissioning." So there was no effect on the timing, or a little bit, and then the costs were too high. But that's pure explanation, and we had to manage the grade because the grade was lower a little bit at that time. So that being said, we got chopped into by 40% from 19 to 11. And now, well, it's shareholder confidence. We That's why we had four analysts at site this week. We'll have four reports coming out of that trip. We have analysts coming next week and the week after. We expect there's about 10 analysts covering the stock right now with 9 very strong buy recommendation. There's 2 or 3 new analysts coming out in the next few weeks with obviously, I hope strong buy recommendations. So we're going to take all of that and then go on the road and meet the shareholders. We're also working on a U.S. listing. That's something that we didn't have, which ended up costing us points in the ETF weighting. So we lost a few points on the weighting of the ETF because our total volume was smaller than others who were trading on the U.S. listing. So we're correcting that this year in 2025. I'm looking at, as well at a Middle East listing. I think that's the future. I think that's where the money is going right now. And the money is there. So there's something we're looking at. We're not announcing we're doing that. We're looking at that. And but the U.S. listing that we're working to get there as quickly as possible. So with the U.S. listing, with us being on the road, with a news flow coming from 15, 16 drills turning, news flow coming from the production at Zgounder, I believe that we will be able to correct the valuation. Now, of course, we've seen a big run in the gold price, and we have not yet seen that in the silver price. I think that once we see this in the silver price, well, then we will, we'll see a lot of the stock move, but us, I think we're going to move a little bit faster. We also have a very small float. We only have 131 million share outstanding, and at the board we have 50% of that. So, or not 50, sorry, 50 million shares. We have like 40 some odd percent. With so it's a very tight situation where the float's tight. The big shareholders are there. The ETFs are these are public. VanEck is our largest shareholder. That's a public information. So look, we're in good shape. Um, we have money in the bank. We're generating cash on a daily basis right now, and we have the right approach. But really, as I said, my job right now is to be out there, talk to you, go everywhere, and make sure that the stock corrects in the coming months. I mean, it took 4 months to come down. It'll probably take 4 or 5 months to correct, but one very big day in silver, and that may change very, very quickly. We still have very large funds that we've been talking to over the past year that we're not in because they thought the pricing was a little bit ahead of itself, and now they're looking at this and saying, that's the right time to come in. So again, as I said, this is my job. I can't call my VP operation and tell him why is the stock low. This is not his job. Or our VP exploration, that's not his job. It's my job.
Well, Benoit, that was a great overview of Aya Gold and Silver, and I want to thank you very much for sharing the story with us today. And as we wrap up, can you just summarize for investors what they should look for in terms of news flow in the coming months?
So in the coming months, you're going to get monthly production because in the ramp up, we've decided to give monthly production. So you'll get April, May, June, and so you're going to get news flow coming out of the production, and where you're going to be looking for recoveries and throughput and grade, and you're going to be looking for plant availability. So the regular ramp up metrics, and we're going to be putting those out because we want to be we are and we want to be transparent. And to that, you're going to get drill results from Zgounder and from Zgounder Regional. Then also, you're going to get results from Boumadine. So the main zone, we kind of know because we've done 200,000 meters there. It hits every time. So we'll keep giving those out. But to me, is the south portion, where in the south portion right now in our grabs, we're looking at 25-30% copper and 200 to 300 grams silver. Won't be there all the time because those are grabs, but that's the kind of rocks that we're seeing on 21-kilometer long. So this we're going to be doing more of that work. We're going to be drilling there towards the end of the summer, and where we're getting the road access and all that because there's nobody. We're by ourselves. There's nobody there. So you're going to get drill results. You're going to get operational results. You're going to get more the update. There'll be an update this summer on Boumadine's metallurgy. Some people were saying that they were concerned. We kind of told them, we're going with a very good solution. We'll make that official this summer with the metrics of the flow sheet that we're going to be using for Boumadine, which will also trigger a resource update because the metrics, what we did when we did the resource update at Boumadine, we used the worst or the most difficult metrics possible, saying that whatever we get as a new flow sheet and a new process is just going to make the metrics better, which will come in and change the resource update. So that's coming over the summer. Drilling, and then just production results, cash flow numbers, and look, Aya is a simple story because it's got no permitting issues. We are not waiting for permits. Won't be announcing an environmental permit. We have all of that. We don't have any construction update. We're built. We don't have any financing update. We're funded. We don't have any risk in country. I mean, for now, and we don't know any, but there's no risk in country. So it's a simple thing. It's a simple ship on the ocean, and we're going to cross the Atlantic and really arrive on the other side with very beautiful production, good cash flow, and we're buying ground in country. We're buying a lot of ground every month. Everything that we see that we like, we acquire from the government or from families that we keep growing the portfolio because we are on Fifth Avenue, and right now we're the only buyers, and we will keep buying.
Well, it sounds like you and your team are going to be very busy in the coming months. And once again, I want to thank you and safe travels.
Thank you very much, and please come over. The country's great. The food's fantastic. The weather, well, it does rain 3 days a year, so I'm trying not to come on for those 3 days. But otherwise, it's fantastic country to be in and to work. For after 25 years in West Africa, people say, "Are you looking anywhere else to buy this?" No, no, we're staying in Morocco. This is great.
Benoit, once again, thank you.
Thank you so much.